Good afternoon, good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We are going back to that horrible world known as the JRC, but before we do, the usual disclaimers. If you're unfamiliar with the Stop the Shocks campaign or the campaign against the troubled teen industry, you're going to find all the pertinent links right there in the description box. Please take note in particular of the article written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics. In it, they interviewed over 800 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's so-called behavior modification program. The Dutch Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read that article so much. They threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic refused, you know the drill. Please read the article, share in all your social media. Also included in there is NeuroClastic's public statement in regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding just in case the JRC actually does see through with their threat. Trigger warning 1. Will we discuss places like the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center or Agape Boarding School for Boys? You're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with mental health issues and disabled people being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please utilize your headphones. Trigger warning 2. This channel is marked not for kids for a reason. We use profanity on occasion and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger and they are watching this, very obviously, parental supervision is very much advised. Alright, now, back to where we were previously. I'm kind of shocked with how long this comment has gone on. More than likely, we're going to end up splitting it again. But let's get back to where we were. Alright, so the sole facility to use these devices has for decades continued to administer skin shocks in response to minor disciplinary infractions. Despite numerous government investigations, reports of misuse by students, former employees, and reporters who have visited the facility, and repeated promises by the facility to implement heightened safeguards against misuse. Now, those government investigations that they are talking about, folks, is state. It's the Massachusetts state. We've gone over how much literally none of that has helped. Whether cash is changing hands, the state of Massachusetts itself has not done a single goddamn thing to make the insanity stop. They just continue to essentially regurgitate JRC talking points and address none of the things that all of us have been bringing up for decades on end. To date, in spite of the fact both a Republican and a Democrat president have been called upon by two separate UN Special Rapporteurs on Torture to have a true federal investigation and deep dive done into the JRC. We got bupkis, folks. Bupkis. Nothing. Nada. Zilch. So, just wanted to bring that back a little bit because I wanted to, clear up here any thoughts that there has ever been a federal investigation into the JRC, because if there ever had been, you bet your sweet ass I would have been all over it. All of us would be. So, state investigations that end with the state of Massachusetts and whatever token representative they want to send forth, like the sacrificial lamb, to regurgitate JRC talking points verbatim, does not equal what a true federal investigation would be like, which this place very deeply needs. But let me go ahead and continue here. In addition, the FDA, its advisory panel, and many others have noted the severe risk of underreported adverse events from use of these devices. One of those reasons is specifically, remember when they told you, well, if they felt like something was wrong, they would have told that to their case manager, only to have Jennifer Masumba come forward and say, oh, yes, I mentioned it. Nothing was done. They told me nothing was wrong because it's part of my quote unquote contract. When trying to protest further, the infamous no talking out. There is no safeguards here. Okay? In case anyone's wondering. In the current role, the FDA discusses many sources of this underreport, among them being limited ability of those subjected to the device to communicate distress or other adverse effects. I'm going to say it until I'm blue in the face. Just because we do not communicate in the way you neurotypicals seem to absolutely insist that we do does not mean we are not communicating and doing so quite clearly. If someone is screaming at you, please, no, God, stop, stop, stop screaming. If you can't figure out what they're communicating there, then perhaps it's not us who have the problem with communication. It's you damn people. Just say. It doesn't get much clearer than screaming, no, stop. Even a scream of pain, if you're working with a nonverbal, should be pretty conclusive, clear cut communication. We shouldn't have to jump through all the neurotypical hoops and communicate with your words in the way that we told you to communicate in order to have what we're telling you be considered as something. You see where I'm going here, right? I'm so tired. I'm so tired of this crap. Well, obviously they can't communicate when we have them on camera screaming for you to stop. Stop torturing them. Stop abusing them. Stop starving them. Stop invading their sleep to shock them again. Mother of God, it doesn't get more clear. Stop saying they can't communicate in regards to adverse effects or consent. Quite clearly, they can. They shouldn't have to jump through every single hoop in order for you to accept their response in regards to the torture that is being inflicted on them against their will. God damn, that just drives me insane. Sorry. Let me get back to where we were. Failure of practitioners to systematically monitor and report adverse effects. Attribution of any adverse effects to the recipient's disabilities rather than the device. Oh, yes, of course. And the provider bias in identifying whether an adverse effect was present. Thank you. When literally the person who's telling you that this is right and good is the same person who's torturing you. It doesn't work, does it? As the FDA notes, the confluence of these factors significantly limits much of the literature published by the JRC and affiliated researchers, which seldom reported or indicated monitoring for adverse effects. In the one JRC study that did identify adverse effects, a retrospective chart review that looks like someone who is like I don't know, a 12-year-old bamboon hyped up on acid and PCP, creating like some weird graph that tells us nothing. If we're going to call that a chart review and a study worth listening to, uh, there is not enough kava tea on the planet, folks. Not nearly enough. These were identified on a non-systematic anecdotal basis only. A lack of clear and systemic documentation of adverse effects from the sole facility enjoying these devices is a clear indicator that these adverse effects are severely underreported. Of course it is. They're trying to cover their ass. It's the most self-explanatory thing in the world. They're not going to say, oh, yes, yes, we're torturing them. Right? Yeah. As a result, we must conclude that these devices inherently carry a high risk of use beyond their intended purpose and high risk of adverse effects, even beyond the already substantial risks suggested in the available evidence. These facts, and those presented both in this notice and in the FDA's 2020 rulemaking, support the FDA's finding that the devices continue to pose a substantial and unreasonable risk of harm. Anybody who is sane and has two brain cells to rub together after watching that video of what happened to Andre McCollins would not be able to help but conclude the same thing. And if you don't, if you conclude the opposite, that's probably either because someone's paying you to, or, I don't know, you're a complete sociopath. Alright, this video is going to be shorter than the last one we did, but I do want to, veg a little bit before tomorrow. A lot of activity, cooking, making sure that I've still got the original Die Hard ready to go because it's not Christmas until Hans falls from the building. So we're going to go ahead and close out, folks. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few we do tend to get removed from time to time. You know the drill, folks. Please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe. Don't forget to utilize those comments. I do appreciate your time this afternoon. As always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. I will see you all Black Friday, and please pray for my poor driveway. Because a lot of times shoppers, everything's so packed over there that all nearby apartments get people parking here when they don't live here, and it's not fun. It's not fun. All right. Have a good one, folks. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.